Good morning from the Enchanted Treehouse. It's a lovely overcast day. It's raining, so again all my animals are inside. I apologize in advance for any noises they may make while we are busy. We are going to do our Valentine's ball dress today. I'm just going to spin her around so you can see her. What we're going to learn here is the technique of the airbrushing effect to go from the darker to the lighter, as well as a pretty well fixed pattern line as well. You'll see the stars begin down here and actually work their way up and around onto her wings. I turned this one into a fairy dress for the simple reason I'm busy with a fairy boutique. But the Valentine's dress and the Halloween bride dress are identical. They're all done with the same basic techniques. What is different is the colors, obviously, and our glitter that we have around. You will have unpacked your kit by now. Your kit has your doll, obviously, arms and legs, the stand, and pipe cleaners. For now, that's all we're going to work with. Great. Please don't laugh at the fact that my kit is not painted. Somewhere on my desk, between moving from the upstairs studio to the new studio downstairs, I have managed to lose the 3 kits that were painted. So, I don't want to hold up our class any further, so I'm going to go ahead with a doll that is unpainted. I will paint her when I'm finished. This funny lollipop looking thing is in fact your stand. So if you put your stand down and just bend that up quite nicely, we'll see as we're going along how that'll work. You can actually put your stand at almost any angle in any place, and it will work quite nicely. Alternatively, I love using my old DVDs as very stable stands, especially for the fairy dresses that go out so nice and far. I'm going to use my glue gun quickly to put my kit together. Just have a basic idea. Remember, our doll's got to be basically 5.5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, so you could see roughly how that's going to work. She's got lovely porcelain legs, so we're going to work with those. Unfortunately, we have to still put our pipe cleaners in there. I'm using my glue gun for the simple reason the glue sets a lot quicker. And I'm terribly impatient. Please remember, when you're working with a glue gun, it does get incredibly hot and it will blister if you drop the glue on your skin. Quick rundown: if you want to paint your stand, please remember this is your Valentine ball dress. You can paint your stand. Because most of my stands are hidden under my dresses, I actually don't worry about painting them. They are stainless steel, they will not rust, so it's not a problem. Okay, let's just give our things a quick grit scrub. You might feel 1 or 2 little rough edges. A old emery board works very well for this as well. Otherwise, a nail block that they use in the nail salons. Or you can get a grit scrubber. Just want to give her a quick scrub. There we go. And her arms. I in fact could have used different arms with her, but I'm going to use these because I'll then make a sleeve where it joins in there. Okay, right, let's go. Put her down. I need 1 pipe cleaner for each of her legs. You can cut your pipe cleaner in half if you want to. I want to just quickly turn this in. I want to just make sure that it's going to go into her body, and then work out how my pipe cleaner is going to go. Now you see how deep your pipe cleaner will go. They should be pretty even, so I'm going to quickly fill this with my glue. Again, just remember your glue gun is incredibly hot, please. I have burnt myself some very nasty burns playing with my glue gun already. You'll see how quickly my glue is flowing out. I'm actually using an industrial glue gun. I don't use a domestic one. The domestic one will in fact work just as well. Your glue just doesn't get as hot as this. I'm not going to worry about my glue that's bubbling out at this stage because I can just cut that off with a blade just now. Just want to make sure I've got it there. Right. And let's do this one quickly. Just want to get the glue inside. Not too much. There we go. Ah! My glue gun's falling over. I just want to put it down. And again. Right. Now this will set fairly quickly. I'm going to quickly do Let's see where my other scissors are, not my material scissors. I seem to have lost them on my desk. I think right now I could lose anything on my desk. Let's just cut 2 fairly smallish pieces that are going to go into her arm. My arm is broken there. I'm going to use it anyway because I really don't feel like running around in the rain trying to find one that isn't. All of your arms should in fact be perfect. There shouldn't be a problem with them. If there is, please get hold of me so that I can sort it out for you. Okay, let's just, there we go. And this one's hole is very small. I'm just going to put a drop on the top. And then I'll use my pipe cleaner to in fact push it down. There we go. Right, play by glue going quickly. Now, at this point, ow, it grew hot. You'll see how it's actually sticking to everything. I forgot that it was actually still melted. It hadn't set yet. So I get it off my hands. You can take a blade and just wipe that off. I in fact just wet my fingers and pull it off. You don't need to glue your 2 legs together. In this point, it would actually be great if you wanted to put stockings on her, you could do it in this step, because remember, once you put her together, you're not going to be able to work in those legs that easily. The same with your boots. If you wanted to cover the boots in leather, you would do it in this stage. I'm actually going to just paint my legs and my boots with ordinary paint. So seems that she's wearing red. I'm going to give her, I think silver shoes should be quite pretty. Well, if you were working with silver, the red and silver, you give her silver shoes. If you're working with red and gold, give her gold shoes. I'm going to give her silver because it's what I've got handy right now. So I just want to take my acrylic paint and remember you're going to put 2 coats of paint on to get it even, unless you're using nail varnish. Nail varnish of course works very, very nice and it dries with a beautiful sheen. So you could use any. You could use an oil-based paint for this. Just remember, an oil-based paint will take that much longer to dry. The acrylics are fairly quick drying. You could use a heat-set paint, and if you were going to fire your doll in the kiln, you could in fact use a fire paint. A paint that would be able to withstand temperature up to 700 degrees, which would then fuse it with our porcelain. I find for this really the acrylics are just easy, convenient, and I don't have to wait that time for my kiln to reach temperature and then slow down again, cooling off. Okay, there we go. Now you can in this stage, my doll's got gloves, so you can, if you want, at this stage paint her gloves as well. I'm not going to paint her gloves right now because I'm not sure if I actually want them painted. I tend to make up my mind as I'm going along. Right, I'm going to wait for those legs to dry. I'm not going to worry about painting her face in this stage. I will paint her when I'm finished. And say, if your stand was painted, now would be a good time. Just leave everything for half an hour, have a cup of coffee, and I'll be back with you shortly. Right, you can bend your stand in any way. I've got the basic idea of where I want my stand to be. There are a number of ways you could actually put the stand together. You could put it through the middle of her legs like that. I tend to not do that. I like to put it on a bum almost. Okay, I just want to push that on slightly. Now you see I've left this nice gap here. This gap is for us to create the rest of her sort of waists and hips. I use batting, but you can use whatever works for you to build up your body. I like batting because it's fairly condensed. Batting is what we use in our quilts. It might be called a different thing where you are. Please bear with us. We do have slightly different terminology in South Africa to most of these things. Now you'll see I'm just gently winding it and building up more on the hip side than I am on the waist side. When I'm at the stage where I think, okay, we've got it fairly good, I break it off and I use florist tape. I find the florist tape actually sticks to itself. This was a trick that I learned from Parker Levi many, many years ago with one of their fairy kits. They in fact used florist tape, and I have ever since then used florist tape. Now you see, once you start putting the florist tape on, you're actually losing a bit of that waste that you added in, because it's soft and it's flexible. So as you're turning this tightly to condense it basically and get it smooth, you are losing a bit there. So you can always go back and add, I just want to do a little, almost like a little roll. You can always go back and add that extra little roll. There we go. Just pull this down a little bit. There we go. Now, don't worry about your tape being a little bit loose, because it sticks to itself, sort of like the elastoplast will do. You can keep going. Now, I don't want to make her too tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5.5. Just checking. I always check on my boards just to make sure that, because in this stage it's very easy to add on an extra half an inch, and you won't believe what a difference that half an inch will make to her height and everything. So I'm going to put a little bit more on this side of her hip, and then take it round. Once you sort of at a comfortable, I like to just sort of keep turning. I don't want to add too much bulk here. I just want to give her a waist. I just want to put a tiny bit around the top of her legs, just to keep that all straight. You see where it's just really across the top. I'm going to cover this now with a petticoat anyway, so we just want to get her onto this point. Okay, there we go. I'm going to make sure I've got all my parts in nicely. Now, so you can do this with elastoplast, or wrapping as they call it, bandaging. It'll work. Whatever works for you is fine. Let's just do that. Okay, I just want to double check now we haven't made her too tall again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay, she's still 5.5 inches. Just want to get that round neatly. There we go. Got her body a little bit long. Now, in this stage, I like to put a drop of my Zap-It glue, super glue. Just literally do that. Put it there just so it can hold her there. Or you can use your glue gun if your super glue doesn't work for you. Just use your glue gun. One dollop of glue there. On this particular doll, it's not going to make very much difference, because most of her stand and her legs are covered, in fact, by her dress. So there we go. I want to get her standing nicely. You can bend that bit of the stand round her bum like it if you want to. And there you've got her standing pretty stable. Her feet are down, and we're going to cover everything with our skirt. Right, let's start with our first petticoat. There was white fabric in your kit. We're going to cut that into a petticoat now. Right, your best bet now is to take your fabric and gently place it on your doll, see where your waist is, and we're going to actually make it almost 1 centimeter less than that, and that should be on the bottom. So I'm going to just finger press this quickly so that I can see. Finger press, it's a good quality cotton, so it will just finger press nicely. And I'm going to just cut this off. Keep that, we'll use it a bit later. So if I put it back on the stand. Right. There we go. Now, we're not making a fancy petticoat here, because all we really want to do is have a base to work on, to put our layers on. So I'm doing really a very basic tube. I'm going to allow the tube to just go over her skirt, her stand at the back, to there. So let's just, oops. Just want to glue her onto her stand properly now. Oops. Right, it's amazing how quickly I get sticky. Please bear with me, I'm always sticky. I've never managed to actually do anything without getting myself covered in glue. And I don't like working with latex gloves. you have lace with your kit. You can use whatever lace you want to. I'm going to just use this piece of lace that I've in fact got lying here. You really don't need such a full piece of lace. You can really just put a little edge along the bottom. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to use the whole piece. I'm going to just cut off that lovely edge that I adore. Maybe we'll use some of that on her a little bit later. Just cut it nice and evenly. I've just hacked it off there. The fun thing about this particular design is it works so quickly. It's an easy, quick dress to put together. Lovely for gifts and things. I just want to, whoops, grab my glue. You all know how to use your Arlene's glue, so I'm not going to go into a huge detail about how we actually glue it. I just put a bead along the edge to wipe it, the major pieces of it off. Now you'll see I've actually done the whole piece. I didn't really need to do the whole piece, but we will utilize it a little bit later on. Just pat that down, and voila, we have the edge of our skirt. Okay, we worked out that our skirt had to be there. I want to take my skirt round from there to the back, and I want to cover the stand there, so I'm going to just chop it off there and create a tube. I want to grab a needle here so I can sew it. You can glue it. I just prefer to sew. It's really just a matter of preference. If gluing works for you, please, do it. Remember, these workshops are really for us to share ideas and possibly show you new techniques. It doesn't mean you have to follow all our techniques. What we're doing is just giving you suggestions. Right, I've stitched that up the back. I've used a very basic in-out stitch, and I'm going to quickly just bring my thread through to this side. Start here with a double knot, just so that I don't pull it. And now we can slip it over her stand, and you can see roughly where it should be. Now I'm going to turn back that. You don't have to do a turned in seam at the waist, because again you're going to cover all of this very, very quickly. I want to just gather that up just a little bit there. So I'm going to just, again with an in-out stitch, want to keep that piece there at the back. I want the front like that. We can gather this up slightly all round. It's not a major problem. It's not going to affect our dress in any way. Remember, we've put the waist, we've put the fold over edge lower than her waist, so it's not going to add waist bulk in the waist. Right, I've done a very basic in-out stitch. I've closed up my skirt from my petticoat from the bottom to the top, done a double stitch, and I'm now just really doing a very basic, again, in-out stitch round her waist. Remember that her petticoat is lower than where her actual natural waist is going to be. That's how we want it. That way we won't add the bulk into her waistline when we start putting our layers of our skirt on. It's only the very last layer that in fact will go into her waist. Everything else is done layered to give us the standing out effect, the real fairy effect of this dress. Okay, there we go. I'm going to just quickly, you can just even your gathers out a little bit. You don't have to put them all in one place. And because I've got the tape I'm using, I can in fact push my needle through the tape and anchor my petticoat wherever I want it. So let's just give her a couple of little loose pleats. I want to anchor my petticoats in 4 or 5 little places, just so that I know it's not going to move or fall down or anything. So I'm just sticking it right through and picking up a piece of my petticoat and taking it through again. I just like to anchor my things in place so that I know they're not going to come off just now. I'm incredibly rough. You'll see the way I work is very, very rough. So I prefer just to glue things in place or stitch them in place. Okay, and snip it off. Right, now we've got our first basic layer of this skirt. Now you'll see you had your tulle is cut into lengths. There we go. You've got one that's basically cut, I think it was 3 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, and then your next one is cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. We're going to start off with your shortest of your, I think the 3 inches probably will be your shortest. You may have one that's 3 or 4. So again, I'm not 100% sure. I think we cut them all 4 inches. Bear with me. We cut so many kits every week. It's incredibly difficult to try and remember all of them. Okay, there we go. Just want to cut that in half. And now, you can use red thread obviously to do this because you're stitching with red. I want to just, now I've lost my needle. I had the needle in my hand. What did I do with it? Got one. Not the one I was using, but we'll use this one for now anyway. Use a double thread. If you have a problem threading your needle, this is a trick I learned from the quilters when I was still quilting very seriously. As you take your thread off your spool, hold it in your hand like that, cut it neat, and bring your needle to your thread, not your thread to your needle, and you'll find it so much easier. Now the funny thing about that is, you've got to do it with the one that's coming off the spool. If I cut it and try to thread it from this side, it unravels. And that is probably what happens to most of us when we try it that way. Okay, I'm going to do a double thread just so I make sure it doesn't snap. And now I'm going to fold this piece in half. And I'm going to do a very basic running stitch through the fold. I'm going to quickly gather that up. I'll be back with you right now. You'll see I'm just really catching the top. I'm doing an in-out stitch of about 3/4 of a centimeter, which is about 1/4 of an inch. I'm just trying to make sure that these edges this side are pretty even. And you can just keep going. The full length of that piece that you've got cut there. You hear all the bird life outside. It's quite amazing when we've had rain like this to see all the birds and stuff start coming out so quickly. It's beautiful. I can hear the hardy-daws, which are huge big birds. They're not quite the size of a turkey. I suppose they're the size of about a chicken. They're very cheeky. They have long beaks, almost like a hornbill, but just thinner. And I don't really know where they originate from, but I have a lot of them in my garden. And the joke is that my cats like to try and stalk them. And the problem is that the hardy-daws are really the size of my cats. But somehow my cats seem to think that they can take out the hardy-daw. I don't think I've ever seen a hardy-daw that's been caught by the cats. Because they are very big birds, and I think those beaks could bite quite seriously. Okay, once we get to having gone right through, you see I'm gathering it up. This is a lovely soft tulle. It's not quite a silk tulle, but it is an incredibly soft tulle to work with, which is lovely. I find with the stiffer tulles, they tend to stand out just too much. We want a more soft draping effect with this one. Okay, let's almost there. I love it when I get so busy that I actually forget that I'm supposed to be doing this in cab. I apologize. I get so excited about the creation process, I really do just forget. Okay, once we have gathered up that first layer, you'll see it goes about 1 inch in. We're not going to put it any higher, of course it's going to be too high. You want it to spread out like that. So I'm going to just quickly pull that round to the back, tight, and then I'm going to spread my gathers out and just sort of slip stitch it in place. I want to do that. Now I can take it and work my gathers around, so get them into an even, there we go. I don't want to have too many on one side, just gently sort of pass them around, and then you can anchor them in place again like we did with the petticoat, literally with 2 or 3 stitches, or of course you could glue it in place. I'm going to just anchor it quickly. I'm going to turn it upside down. I hold her like that, and I literally put it through my bottom layer and come out again a little bit further on, just anchoring it in place. To say you can glue it just as easily. It's not a, there's nothing carved in stone about this. Okay, I'm going to go around. Got a little bit more gathers this side. Just want to even them out a little bit more again. And if you find you've made a mistake, just don't pick up and start again. It's really such an easy dress to put together. It's not like you've got layers and layers you're going to take off, because we're going to build up our layers exactly like this. Okay, and I am back where I started. Just want to gently pull her petticoat out again so that it doesn't fold in. And then I like to tie off with a double knot and a dot of glue to stop it from unraveling by itself. So there we go. Go the other way around. Knot it one way first and then knot it the other way. It just helps secure that knot in place. And snip it off. Now we're going to repeat that process now again. There we go. With the next layer. Now the next one will be your piece that is 3.5 or 4 inches. Remember that the double one, that is the double length, is your last layer you're going to put on. So this is your next layer. Just cut off your ends, and you do the exact same thing again, because we're going to stitch that one on roughly on the top of her petticoat there, and the third layer will in fact go into her waist. Right, so I'm going to quickly gather this one up. I'll be back with you shortly.